paint splattered his sleeves, the smell of fresh coat in the air. And then the colonel walked in, medal in hand, eyes full of something deeper than orders. The other maintenance workers had spent 18 months treating Sergeant First Class David Shadow Martinez like a broken soldier who couldn't handle real military duties, relegated to painting barracks walls while younger Marines earned combat ribbons and deployment medals overseas. They saw his steady brush strokes on endless walls and assumed he'd been demoted for incompetence, witnessed his quiet focus during mundane tasks and mistook dedication for lack of ambition to serve in positions that mattered to national security. What they couldn't see beneath his paint-stained utilities were scars from 47 classified reconnaissance missions behind enemy lines, where his force reconnaissance unit had gathered intelligence that prevented 3 major terrorist attacks on American soil and saved the lives of over 2,000 innocent civilians. Martinez had volunteered for the Shadows when other Marines sought glory, spending 6 years as a deep reconnaissance specialist whose missions were so classified that his own family believed he'd spent his entire military career in routine stateside assignments and training exercises. Welcome to Silent Salute, where we reveal that America's greatest heroes often serve in complete anonymity, their most important achievements buried so deep in classified files that even their closest comrades never know the full scope of their sacrifice. Before we share this incredible story of hidden valor and long overdue recognition, tell us in the comments about a time when you discovered someone's true worth was hidden beneath humble appearances. And if you believe that real heroes often serve without seeking recognition, hit that subscribe button to support our mission of honoring those who protect us from the shadows. Camp Pendleton's Building 447 needed repainting every 18 months. A routine maintenance task that kept Martinez busy while his former teammates deployed to combat zones where they could earn the ribbons and recognition that defined successful military careers in the eyes of personnel who measured service by visible achievements rather than classified contributions. Staff Sergeant Jennifer Bulldog Torres, supervising the maintenance detail, watched Martinez work with the kind of methodical precision that characterized soldiers who had learned to find satisfaction in completing missions correctly rather than seeking praise from supervisors who couldn't understand the complexity of seemingly simple tasks. Martinez, you've been painting these same walls for a year and a half. Don't you want to request transfer to a unit where you can actually make a difference instead of hiding out here with the other burnouts? Martinez continued applying primer to the Barracks walls with steady strokes that reflected thousands of hours spent motionless in enemy territory, where movement meant death and patience meant mission success and the safe return of intelligence that would save American lives. Staff Sergeant Torres, every job in the Marine Corps serves a purpose. These Marines need clean quarters when they return from deployment, and someone needs to maintain the facilities that support their mission readiness and morale. Corporal James Hammer, Washington, assigned to Martinez's detail as punishment for disciplinary issues, couldn't understand why someone would voluntarily accept maintenance duties when transfer requests could lead to combat deployments and the kind of visible service that earned respect and advancement opportunities. Martinez, you're wasting your skills on busy work. I've been in the Corps for 4 years, and I've never seen anyone actually choose to stay in maintenance when they could be doing real Marine work overseas. Martinez's response reflected the deep satisfaction of someone who had already served his country in ways that exceeded most Marines' entire careers, understanding that true service often meant accepting anonymous roles that supported others rather than seeking personal recognition and career advancement. Corporal Washington, real Marine work is whatever mission needs accomplishing, whether that's kicking down doors in Fallujah or making sure the facilities are ready for Marines who are kicking down doors. Someone has to maintain the home front. The harassment began subtly as other maintenance personnel questioned why Martinez seemed content with work they considered beneath their capabilities and ambitions. Sergeant Michael Tank Rodriguez organized betting pools about how long Martinez would last before requesting transfer to a real military occupational specialty that offered advancement opportunities and meaningful contribution to Marine Corps operations. $20, says Martinez finally cracks and puts in for infantry transfer by Christmas. Nobody stays in maintenance this long unless they can't handle anything else. Private First Class Lisa Scrappy Chun, recently assigned to the detail after completing military occupational specialty training. Join the speculation about Martinez's background and motivations for accepting what appeared to be punishment duty disguised as voluntary assignment. I heard Martinez got busted down from something important, and they stuck him here until his enlistment runs out. Nobody chooses to paint walls when they could be deploying with combat units and earning real ribbons. The psychological pressure escalated when Sergeant Torres decided that direct confrontation might motivate Martinez to seek transfer to positions more appropriate for someone with his apparent lack of ambition and competitive drive that characterized successful Marines. Martinez, I've been reviewing your service record, and I don't understand why someone with your test scores and physical fitness ratings would choose to waste his career on maintenance duties. Are you afraid of combat deployment, or do you just lack the motivation to serve in challenging positions? Martinez understood the implications of Torres's question, but couldn't explain that his apparent lack of combat experience actually concealed more dangerous missions than most Marines would face in 10 lifetimes of service, operations so classified that acknowledging them would compromise ongoing national security operations. Staff Sergeant Torres, I found satisfaction in supporting the Marines who do get to deploy. Not everyone can be on the tip of the spear, and someone needs to maintain the infrastructure that supports combat operations and mission readiness. The tension continued building for months, with maintenance personnel increasingly treating Martinez as a soldier who had somehow failed to measure up to Marine Corps standards and was counting down days until discharge rather than seeking opportunities for meaningful military service and personal advancement. Corporate Washington, whose own deployment anxiety made him project his fears onto Martinez's apparent contentment with stateside duty, became increasingly vocal about what he perceived as cowardice disguised as dedication to maintenance responsibilities. Martinez, every Marine I know is trying to get overseas where the real action is happening. The fact that you're happy painting walls tells everyone you're not cut out for combat duty or real military service. Martinez's response carried the quiet confidence of someone who had already proven himself in combat conditions that exceeded anything his critics would ever experience, understanding that true courage often meant enduring misunderstanding rather than revealing classified information that would satisfy personal pride but compromise national security. Corporal Washington, combat deployment isn't the only way to serve the Corps. Every Marine has a role in supporting our mission, whether that's pulling triggers overseas or maintaining the facilities that keep our forces ready for deployment. The situation reached its breaking point when Sergeant Torres decided to force Martinez's transfer by documenting his supposed lack of motivation and failure to seek advancement opportunities that characterized ambitious Marines committed to professional development and meaningful military service. Martinez, I'm recommending you for counseling regarding your apparent lack of career motivation and failure to pursue military occupational specialties that would utilize your potential and contribute meaningfully to Marine Corps operations. Martinez understood that Torres's recommendation could affect his service record and future assignments, but explaining his actual military background would violate operational security protocols that protected ongoing missions and the safety of Marines still conducting classified operations in hostile environments around the world. Staff Sergeant Torres, I respectfully disagree with your assessment, but I understand your concerns about my career progression. I'm committed to performing whatever duties the Corps assigns me to the best of my abilities. The administrative review of Martinez's service and career progression was scheduled for the following Tuesday, when Colonel Patricia, Iron Lady, Morrison would evaluate his performance and determine appropriate action regarding his apparent lack of ambition and failure to pursue challenging assignments that would demonstrate commitment to Marine Corps values and professional excellence. But on Monday morning, everything changed when a black sedan arrived at Building 447 and two men in civilian suits asked to speak privately with Martinez regarding matters related to his previous military service and classified operations that required immediate clarification and official recognition. The meeting lasted 47 minutes, during which Martinez provided detailed briefings about reconnaissance missions that had shaped international security policy and prevented terrorist attacks that would have fundamentally altered American society, operations so sensitive that acknowledging them publicly would compromise ongoing intelligence operations and endanger Marines still conducting similar missions. Agent Robert Hawk Stevens, reviewing Martinez's classified service record and operational achievements, realized that the maintenance Marine his local command had been questioning was actually one of the most decorated reconnaissance specialists in Marine Corps history, whose contributions to national security exceeded most generals' entire careers. Sergeant Martinez, your force reconnaissance service included operations that prevented major terrorist attacks and gathered intelligence that shaped American foreign policy. Your transition to maintenance duties was actually a cover assignment designed to protect your identity while you recovered from injuries sustained during your final classified mission. The revelation that Martinez's maintenance assignment had been deliberately designed to conceal his identity and protect him from enemy retaliation transformed everyone's understanding of his service and sacrifice, explaining his apparent contentment with duties that had seemed beneath his capabilities and potential. Colonel Morrison, reviewing the classified briefing about Martinez's actual military background and operational achievements, realized that her base had unknowingly been hosting a Marine whose service record included some of the most important reconnaissance missions in recent military history. Sergeant Martinez, I owe you an apology. Your maintenance assignment wasn't punishment or lack of motivation, it was protection. Your reconnaissance service included operations that saved American lives and prevented terrorist attacks that would have changed our entire approach to homeland security. The ceremony that followed occurred in private, with only Colonel Morrison, Agent Stevens, and Martinez present as the Marine received recognition that had been delayed for 6 years while his identity remained classified and his mission stayed buried in Pentagon vaults marked for compartmented access only. The Defense Meritorious Service Medal, 3 Navy Commendation Medals with Combat V devices, and the Joint Service Achievement Medal represented recognition for operations that had prevented attacks on American schools, shopping malls, and government facilities by gathering intelligence that allowed law enforcement to neutralize terrorist cells before they could execute their plans. Sergeant First Class Martinez, your reconnaissance missions prevented terrorist attacks that would have killed thousands of innocent Americans and fundamentally altered our society. Your willingness to accept anonymous maintenance duties while protecting classified operations demonstrates the highest standards of Marine Corps service and personal sacrifice. Martinez's response reflected the humility of someone whose greatest achievements would always remain classified, understanding that true service often meant accepting recognition years after the missions were completed and the immediate danger had passed. Colonel Morrison, my reconnaissance service was conducted according to Marine Corps values and professional obligations that required no special recognition beyond the satisfaction of preventing attacks on innocent Americans and supporting my fellow Marines conducting similar operations. The maintenance detail personnel who had questioned Martinez's motivation and harassed him about his apparent lack of ambition found themselves struggling to understand how they had unknowingly been working alongside a Marine whose classified achievements exceeded their combined service records and operational experience. Staff Sergeant Torres, realizing that her assessment of Martinez's career motivation had been based on complete ignorance of his actual military background and classified service record, approached him with obvious professional embarrassment and newfound respect for capabilities she had failed to recognize. Sergeant Martinez, I owe you a sincere apology. Your reconnaissance service explains everything I couldn't understand about your approach to duty and your satisfaction with maintenance work. You were protecting classified operations while I was questioning your motivation and Marine Corps commitment. Martinez's response demonstrated the grace of someone who understood that operational security requirements made misunderstanding inevitable, choosing to use the experience as a teaching opportunity rather than an occasion for resentment or professional revenge. Staff Sergeant Torres, operational security requires that classified service remain hidden, sometimes for years. Your questions about motivation and career progression were reasonable based on the information available to you. Now you understand why some Marines seem content with assignments that appear beneath their capabilities. Corporal Washington, whose accusations about Martinez's supposed cowardice and failure to seek combat deployment now appeared as ignorant prejudice rather than legitimate professional assessment, struggled to reconcile his assumptions about military service with the reality of classified operations and reconnaissance missions. Sergeant Martinez, I said some things about your service that I deeply regret. I didn't understand that some Marines serve in ways that can't be publicly acknowledged, and I mistook your humility for lack of courage. Your reconnaissance missions required more bravery than anything I'll ever face. The recognition ceremony that Colonel Morrison organized for Martinez became a teaching moment for the entire base, demonstrating how classified service often concealed extraordinary achievements and how true military excellence sometimes required accepting misunderstanding rather than seeking public recognition that would compromise ongoing operations. Sergeant First Class Martinez represents everything that makes the Marine Corps exceptional. Colonel Morrison announced during the ceremony honoring Marines whose classified service had been recently declassified and could finally receive appropriate recognition. His willingness to accept anonymous maintenance duties while protecting classified operations demonstrates that true leadership often means serving without recognition or praise. Martinez used his recognition to establish mentorship programs for Marines transitioning from classified operations to conventional assignments, helping other reconnaissance specialists adapt to routine duties while maintaining operational security and finding satisfaction in different forms of service to the Marine Corps and American security interests. The most important lesson I've learned, Martinez would tell Marines attending transition briefings that became standard throughout force reconnaissance units, is that meaningful service continues regardless of whether missions can be publicly acknowledged. Whether you're conducting reconnaissance behind enemy lines or maintaining the facilities that support combat operations, your contribution to Marine Corps readiness and American security remains valuable and necessary. The maintenance assignment had provided Martinez with the opportunity to serve his country while recovering from injuries sustained during classified missions, demonstrating that meaningful military service often continued through different forms of contribution that honored both past achievements and current capabilities while maintaining the standards of excellence that define Marine Corps service. Years later, when Sergeant First Class Martinez completed his military service with full honors and recognition for exceptional achievement in both classified operations and facilities maintenance, his story continued inspiring. Marines who understood that true excellence often required adapting capabilities to different mission requirements while maintaining the dedication and professionalism that characterized the finest military service. His example reminded everyone that in the Marine Corps, as in all military organizations, the most important contributions often came from Marines whose primary motivation was continued service and mission accomplishment rather than personal recognition or career advancement. Because the greatest military leaders were often those who used their extraordinary experience and classified achievements to support organizational capability rather than seeking public acknowledgement that would interfere with operational security and mission effectiveness. The moment when the colonel walked into the paint-splattered barracks with a medal had lasted only minutes, but its impact continued for years, demonstrating that true military excellence and classified heroism often hid behind the most humble assignments, and that the Marines others dismissed as lacking motivation might be the ones with the most distinguished service records and extraordinary achievements in American military history, deserving respect rather than harassment and recognition, rather than dismissal based on ignorant assumptions about capability and commitment. This story was brought to you by Silent Salute. Before we leave you today, here's our question. Have you ever discovered that someone's quiet dedication concealed extraordinary achievements that completely changed your understanding of their worth and sacrifice? Have you worked alongside people whose humble service hid remarkable capabilities and classified contributions that deserved recognition and respect rather than dismissal and misunderstanding? Tell us in the comments about moments when you realized you'd been working with someone whose service and achievements exceeded your understanding, and how that discovery changed your approach to recognizing hidden heroes and honoring quiet professionals who serve without seeking acknowledgement. And if you believe that true legends often serve in silence, and that official recognition sometimes reveals the heroes hiding behind routine assignments, hit that subscribe button to support our channel's mission of honoring those who protect us from the shadows while maintaining the operational security that keeps America safe. Nobody questions Martinez's dedication anymore, not after learning that his paintbrush had been covering up one of the most distinguished service records in Marine Corps reconnaissance history.